Hello, AP Juniors. This particular video is to help you with your rhetorical analysis. Some of you did this during our practice a couple of weeks ago, and I want to remind you what you need to do for this particular essay, rhetorical analysis. Remember, you must identify the purpose. Some of you struggled trying to figure out what Chief Seattle's purpose in his oration was. And if you can't identify the purpose, it becomes very difficult to analyze whether the writing style is actually achieving the intended purpose. You need to analyze the rhetorical devices. If you've forgotten these, remember these are the choices in Space Cat: diction, imagery, details, language, syntax. Use those particular words correctly as you introduce them in a body paragraph, for instance. Chief Seattle's imagery-laden syntax is something along those lines. And some of you really did a nice job with the imagery part, because that particular speech has a lot of very interesting imagery, which I'll get to in a second. You need to fuse those together. How does the writing style drive that argument forward? Again, if you haven't identified the argument, the purpose correctly, it's going to be really hard to do well on this particular essay. So it gets better with time. Read different articles and think to yourself, what is this writer's purpose? There's lots of articles you can read all over the internet on all kinds of subjects. So practice reading an essay, maybe an opinion essay every day. I will see if I can put some links down below for some good sources for that. Some successes from this particular essay. A lot of people did choose to write about imagery. It was a strong device for this essay. Miles connected to nature. He noted that when Seattle compares his words to stars, he implies, and this is Miles writing, that his words are massive and brilliant and should be heard. It was a nice connection. Jaden noticed the use of short sentences. Could probably fix that wording a little bit, but that'll be fine. Such as, and she pulled out, youth is impulsive. She explains how these statements, quote, show the urgent feeling of the Indians and make the situation seem more important. And Stephen noted the appeal of emotion and how Seattle, quote, forgives them and asks for peace, not revenge. Stephen also includes the point that Seattle's speech is intended for Governor Stevens. That information is always, some pieces of that information is in the introduction to any of these particular questions. Read that information carefully. You were already given information about why Chief Seattle was writing this. And then you might have to think back to your history. Like, this is not a current day essay. When did it take place? Do some critical thinking as to what that context might be. Stephen noticed that the chief is appealing directly to the governor to be, this is Stephen's quote, to be generous with the amount of land to be granted to the tribe. Very clear wording about what is happening in this particular passage. The book that I have for this particular essay noted that the more perceptive writers answering this prompt recognize the subtleties of Seattle's manipulation of the situation, his implied sarcasm, and his subtle threatening predictions. That would get that extra wow point. Don't forget, you always need a thesis at the introduction. Be extremely clear in your introduction. Those AP readers need to know exactly what you're trying to say. Extremely, extremely clear in the introduction. And for those of you who did write on this particular essay, I will put a score into PowerSchool, but remember, this is a non-graded practice piece, and I will do more updating on Wednesday for AP, and I will let you know what other kinds of practice we can do as we move forward. Thank you for those of you who answered my question in Google Classroom. Keep checking back there. Send me email if you've got questions, and I will be updating you again soon. Take care. Have a great day.